Thank you so much for joining us today on Connect and Collaborate, where we come together each day to introduce you to our network of business and community leaders and to discuss important issues that impact business in Colorado and the region. I'm Tammy Schaefer, your on-air producer, and today we are connecting with the Association of the United States Army. I'm glad to have Andrea Withrow here. She's president of the Denver Centennial Chapter of AUSA. Andrea, glad to have you.
Thanks for having me.
We're also talking with Izzy Abbas. He's a U.S. Army veteran and working with Valor Bridge.
I am indeed. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. And this conversation is part of our focus on Colorado Gives a Damn. So this is a great event coming up. Do you want to tell us about it, Andrea?
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun event. We're doing a fundraiser for 3 of our organizations. It's AUSA, Valor Bridge, and the Warrior Bonfire. And what we're going to do as part of this, we are going to have an MRE Cook Off. So folks that are generally not... Doesn't that sound exciting?
MRE Cook Off.
Yes. So we're going to give some civilians an opportunity to experience MRE cooking at its finest. And they're going to be given an MRE, and they're also going to be given remnants of a care package, or what might be remnants of a care package that somebody might receive on deployment.
Like half a bagel or...
some chocolate, some pub mix, some, things that are generally in their Twizzlers, whatever. We're going to pack them up very creatively. They'll be given these items to create their meal, and they're going to be given a certain amount of time to do that with their team. We are going to provide each team with a real live soldier who can help facilitate the process, help them with how to cook the MRE, how to follow the directions. For people that aren't aware, MREs come in a big bag and have
meals ready to eat in a little package, and
come with some various things in them. And there's special cooking to how those are done. So we're gonna give them some soldier support. So each team will have that, and they'll have specific amount of time to put that together. And then we're going to have some celebrity judges who are going to come and pick which meal is best. So, and we're also going to give them the opportunity to buy some additional items that might help enhance their meal as an additional fundraiser. So there'll be a table of some other thing. Yes, if you think that one more chocolate bar, or maybe you need some ketchup or some fancy mustard, that will be on the side table, and there'll be some prices on that as well. But we want everyone to have fun. This is a really good opportunity to come out, have fun, do something new, do a team event, and learn about 3 great organizations. And to close off the evening, we are going to do a flag ceremony, which is something that Warrior Bonfire does as a core part of their program. So there's great opportunity for attendees to get to experience a lot of different things, meet some new people, and interact with some great organizations.
When is this event?
It is March 5th.
I thought it was coming up very soon. That's great. Well, I love this idea of the MRE Cook-Off, because I spent some time in Rapid City as a young reporter, Rapid City, South Dakota, where there's the Ellsworth Air Force Base, so I knew a lot of pilots and other folks in the Air Force, and I know they just carry Tabasco sauce with them on their scripts. How are they trying to make those MREs palatable? Is that basically what the challenge is?
How to make this meal yummy? Yes. Yes, that's absolutely going to be the key trick to this. How can you make an amazing meal out of the basic ingredients you're going to be given in the MRE?
It's fantastic, because I'm sure.
And actually, you have to do 3 parts of the meal. You have to make an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. And it's kind of like Food Network Food Challenge.
Yes.
So they have to do that.
Is that going to be one of your celebrity judges? That'd be no, but
yeah, we wanted to get Keegan out here for that, but
right.
But what we see is it's a really good way to integrate business leaders with veterans and understand what they go through. And in a situation like this, you've got these privates and specialists who are going to serve as the experts in terms of preparing the food and getting it to taste good.
Right. Well, and I can see that this challenge comes about because this is a regular challenge out in the field, right? Trying to make that a meal out of
And to understand that somebody that's deployed, this is what they're eating.
Right.
And they may not have the extra special ingredients we're going to have on the side. They just have what is in that bag. And somebody that is in the middle of the desert with a small unit, that's what they're eating. They are not getting any, there's no grill, there's no burgers, there's no Wendy's, Dairy Queen around the corner. You eat what is in that bag, and that's what has to sustain you for that period of time. So it's good for people to understand the military experience.
Right, because we all try to recognize the sacrifice these men and women put forth to serve our country, and and we know that sacrificing their time away from family, all their physical acumen being out there, and then knowing that they're just eating this poor little MRE, and that's all they have. Yeah.
Right.
That's a much further sacrifice and brings it home, doesn't it?
Right, and the MREs are made to be, to sustain and to have the right amount of calories and the right...
Yeah, it's nutrition.
The right nutrition, but that's all they have. And if you think about the ease of when you're home, you go to the refrigerator, you drive to the grocery store. Mm-hmm. When you're out on deployment, you're rucking. This is all you have.
Yeah. And
that's what you have to get by.
Tell me a little bit more about the event March 5th, Colorado Gives a Damn, and it's really bringing business leaders together with our military veterans and supporting, like you said, I'm sorry, all these acronyms are tough on me.
It's like being in the military.
Yeah, I know. See?
We're secretive.
AUSA, which is the Association, where'd it go? Association of the United States Army, Valor Bridge, and Warrior Bonfire Project. So some really great groups coming together to help veterans kind of reacclimate into society, right? And into a career.
Yes.
So tell me, Andrea, tell us all about the Association of the United States Army here in your Denver Centennial Chapter.
So AUSA is primarily focused on supporting active duty and veteran soldiers and their families. And that can include anything from supporting ROTC units to supporting families and doing integration weekends after folks come back from deployment. So anywhere there's a need, and that can be anywhere from individuals to groups. So we also do support for the 743rd out at Buckley. We do work with the Denver Recruiting Battalion, which doesn't just cover the Denver area. It actually goes into Wyoming and Nebraska.
Sure.
So when those groups do events or have a need, if we're aware of it, we can support it. So we recently supported the Denver Recruiting Battalion has an annual training session in December, and it's 3 days, and it ends in a big dinner and dancing event at the end. And they had reached out to us, and we were able to provide support so that they could bring in whole families for the event. It wasn't just the soldiers that are a part of that battalion, but also their family members. So their family members were able to come and enjoy some of the events and then enjoy the dinner and bring their children. So spouses and children were there. The children were cared for. We provided some money for daycare, so the parents were able to have a fun evening out and enjoy the camaraderie and enjoy the evening. And it's things like that where you can see the initial impact and you know that you've made something better for somebody.
Right.
That's a lot of what we focus on. So if we can support an ROTC scholarship to help a student get through their last semester, their last year, to continue on with that mission, if they want to be involved in the military and they want to stay in school and that kind of thing, we can do that. And as I was saying, we support the 743rd. We work a lot with them. We've bought presents for their holiday party for all the children. We've offered food for some of their summer picnics for their FRG events. FRG is Family Readiness Group.
Okay.
Call me on it if I use an acronym, because I've gotten used to them even though I wasn't in the military, and I use them as if everyone should know them.
You pick them up when you're around it. You do pick it up, but I'll tell you what, when you're away, it goes away.
Right. You're like, wait, what is that?
Maybe not if you've been, if you've served, it sticks with you, I'm sure. So I just want to say, family. Oh, you said Family Readiness
Groups.
So tell us about that a little bit.
So the Family Readiness Group, almost every unit has one, or every division has one, and their purpose is to ensure that the families are well taken care of, and that there are events, and that if something goes wrong or somebody needs extra support, there's a group of people there that's ready to help. And so it's everything from planning the Easter egg hunt to having a team ready if there is a soldier that's injured or or killed in action, that they are there ready to support the family,
right,
and provide whatever means necessary. So they really cover a wide breadth of events and needs, and it's the families that are a part of that.
So you're supporting the families while their soldiers are deployed, and you're also supporting the families when the soldiers return.
Correct.
Because when you say integration events, this is when the soldier returns from deployment, and
Yep.
The whole family kind of needs to get used to each other again.
Yes.
For one thing.
Yes.
It's a huge shock when you come back from deployment and you've been away. And it's gotten tougher, I would say, over the years, because I'm a Desert Storm veteran.
Really?
When we didn't have computer access and mobile phones weren't nearly as prevalent as they are now. Today you look, and even though there's that, troops that are deployed overseas, they have that additional pressure because they can be in contact almost every day with their family back here. They feel guilty that they're not there to helping to take care of things. And then they've also got another stressor, which is what they're doing in the military and when they're deployed and doing that job. So I think Andrea's quite right. I mean, the work that the FRGs do, when you join the military, you join an all-encompassing family, which includes the FRGs, and it includes groups like the Association of the United States Army that are helping to keep that community feeling even long past deployment.
I appreciate, Izzy, what you're saying, that you're comparing your experience with Desert Storm, where you didn't have, whether it was day-to-day or week-to-week contact, video phone call or something like that, to be able to keep in touch. And what I appreciate about all these groups that help support our service members and their families, that not only do they've created all of these groups, the family readiness groups, however they're supporting families while the soldiers deployed, whether it's getting their lawns mowed or their sidewalks shoveled. Like, this is all, it's all been happening for years, so they're all doing it. But Izzy, I appreciate what you're pointing out, that the times have changed to some degree, and there's different challenges.
There are. And, it's an ongoing thing. It's gone on forever, where, you send troops off to war, you bring them back, and then, in theory, you're supposed to take care of them.
Yeah.
And, right or wrong, our country has done a job of taking care of them, but quite often the families are forgotten.
Right.
And as I'm famous for saying, actually, the whole family serves. One just happens to wear the uniform.
The whole family joins.
Yep, the whole family joins.
Whether they want to or not.
That's
exactly. True. My mother joined. I think that was not her fondest dream. And, I was a young 20-year-old when I went off, and I'm like, I didn't really think about her. I was more worried about, hey, is my training going to work? And I want to make sure it works, and I want to go out and do that. I didn't really have any cares in the world.
How it was going to impact your parents.
Oh, yeah. Never think about that.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't at 20. You just don't.
No. But as these, as we've got members of the military, we've been at war now for 17 years. And as that's dragged on, a lot, we've had troops that have gone in as privates. They come out, 15 years later, they're senior NCOs, they're non-commissioned officers, they're commissioned officers, a little older, and they have more of those concerns. And we've got to set up these safety nets so that, unfortunately, some of their children may be going off to these wars.
Right.
And
it's generational.
It's
now,
generational.
In one stretch.
It is. And hopefully with what we're doing with AUSA,
what
we're doing with some of these other organizations out there, is helping make that transition back into civilian life and, support them while they're there. While the whole family serves,
yes,
we support them.
That's great. Well, and I'm thinking too, you know, we'll talk more in our next segment about when the soldiers not only get back, but maybe are leaving the military, and how they're going to carry on with either new jobs or whatever that future holds. But in this instance, we're talking about supporting the families and
right.
that, yeah.
So support. A lot of what we do is fill in the gaps. So the military does do its best to support the families, to support the soldiers, to even support the veterans. But they can't be everywhere. They can't do everything. So a lot of organizations like ours exist to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, and it's anticipating those different needs.
Right. And that's why I was saying before, if we are notified of a gap, or somebody points something out to us, we are able to step in and say, if we did X, Y, and Z, would that help? Or, you know, we've been notified maybe some single soldiers have returned from deployment and are struggling to make that integration back to not being deployed, but to being active duty while being, you know, living normally.
Right.
You know, going to work 9 to 5.
So you're back in a home with your family.
Right. So we will do, you know, sponsor a weekend where they can go away and have a retreat and kind of get their heads back together or readjust. And, okay, this is how you live life when you're not on deployment, when you're not under fire, when you're not actively doing your job 24/7, you know, that gives them that opportunity. So we can fill the gap. And a lot of times, you know, I had said earlier, they ask for our help. They can't always ask for our help. So it is the military can't ask for donations.
I got you.
So we have to become familiar and friendly with these different groups so we can hear what they're doing. So then we can ask the question, hey, you're doing an Easter egg hunt. Yeah. Do you have a need for us to buy 10 dozen eggs or to set up a table, you know, for food? So we have to kind of identify opportunities, because the military can't go out and solicit donations.
So you have to anticipate what they might need and see if they accept it.
Right. So it's very important for us to be involved in working with these groups, and not just the active component, you know, which includes active duty, that includes Guard, that includes Reserve, but also with the veteran groups. I mean, once people get out of the military, they and their families also have needs. They also have things they need to do. Right. So we try to find areas where there is a need and we can support, or give them another group that they can come to that has folks in it that are understanding of where they're at, and maybe they've been there too and can help light the way for them and, you know, walk them through so they don't feel like they're going through it alone. And that's not just the folks that have served in the military, but their families, you know, both immediate family and extended family as well, because as we were saying before, the whole family joins, whether they want to or not. And that includes your kids, your spouse, your parents, your siblings. It impacts everyone.
It really does. And I imagine in some of those services, when you're talking about, you know, providing these retreat opportunities and things like that when a soldier returns, I imagine that includes maybe some counseling services and good direction.
Yeah. Just opportunities for them to grow, acknowledge if something has happened, and find ways of coping, of getting on to the next step. And, you know, we are always looking for ways to support that community. And there's, you know, it's been very publicized. There's a lot of issues with PTSD. There's a lot of issues with suicide. The suicide rate is heartbreakingly high.
Heartbreaking, yeah.
And we need to find ways to support that and to make sure we get in and make things available and make folks feel like it is completely okay to take advantage of those services and those
completely okay to ask for help.
And one thing that's real important also is we don't always provide those services at AUSA, but we're connected to organizations that provide those services.
Okay.
So it's a network. And so I like to say, it's not a silver bullet that's going to fix all these problems, a magic bullet. What it is a magic quiver of arrows. You never know which one's going to hit its mark.
Right.
So you need to have the biggest quiver you can have, and that's all these organizations. So
it's about coverage.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's, having multiple organizations. This one specializes in counseling, PTS counseling. Here's one for TBI. Here's one for, law. Sorry, I'm throwing all the acronyms out.
No, I'm understanding them. So I don't know if that's if that's the common knowledge for all of our listeners, but I'm following you. So if you throw one at me that I don't get, I'll ask.
Okay.
But you're right to explain them for everyone. When you mentioned the post-traumatic stress and the all these different needs for assistance, for help and for direction. And sometimes it can be as simple as reintegrating mom or dad back into family life where the other parent was making things work, and now the parent that's gone was back, and there's that readjustment too. There's a lot to think about. We don't think about how service impacts these families to these degrees.
Right. Yeah, the family gets used to daily life for however long the other spouse was gone, and they've got it nailed down, and they know how to get the kids to school and get dinner on the table and do the grocery shopping. And here the other spouse comes back, and they've been doing their job,
right?
And they want to come back into family life, and it's often a struggle to get that balance back. Of,
hey, Dad didn't put an apple in my lunchbox. This is we need a family meeting.
So there is that integration, and it's not as easy.
I was trying to make an example of these are
yes,
those are the stress markers on a kid, right?
But it's usually the little things that hang you up.
Exactly.
So a forgotten apple in the lunchbox, or I like my carrots cut in fourths, not in half. How dare you? Those are the kind of things that, it's the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back.
Absolutely.
It's probably not the big thing, like Dad didn't know how to get to school, but Dad didn't pack my lunch right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's there's a lot to that, and that's one of the things that, myself being a civilian, and I've never had the honor to serve, but I do my best to give back.
Yeah.
It's important for me to expose folks that have not been exposed to the military to what that means, and what that means not just for the soldiers, not for those that serve, but for their families, and what that impact is, and what that looks like. And it has been surprising to me as I've gone through this journey of trying to give back to the military, how many people are completely unaware or have a very different vision in their head, or a stereotype vision in their head of what that means. And so to expose them to folks that are in the military so that they have a better understanding, and it helps further the conversation.
We're talking today with Andrea Withrow. She's the president of the Denver Centennial Chapter of AUSA, that's the Association of the United States Army, and we're just talking about the many ways you support how AUSA supports the military veterans, or just the soldiers returning home and their families. Active duty, how was that? Active duty, deployed, that's the same thing.
Active duty.
Guard,
veteran
reserve.
Soldiers and their families.
Yes.
Anyone actively serving.
Yep.
And so as we're talking about ways to support AUSA, this upcoming Colorado Gives a Damn event is one of them, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we get most of our funds to support the efforts that we support through fundraising events. The Colorado Gives a Damn is our first fundraiser for the year. We'll have a golf tournament in
Coming
June.
Coming up March 5th.
So. Yes. So we would love to have everybody join us.
Can people still get involved?
Yes, there is opportunities for sponsorship there. So if you can attend and you want to sponsor, you want your business to be involved, we would welcome you. We would welcome individual attendees as well. This is going to be a fun evening.
Yes.
You have the opportunity to, learn how to make an MRE. Where else are you going to get this skill set?
Have your team have your company form a team to come down and cook and participate.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great
team building.
idea.
Team building.
Definite team building. We're going to be back with more talking with Andrea Withrow from AUSA, and we'll also talk more with Izzy Abbas with Valor Bridge, a U.S. Army veteran, Desert Storm veteran, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you so much for your service. We will be back with more. Stay with us after this break. Thanks so much for staying with us today here on Connect and Collaborate, as we are focusing on Colorado Gives a Damn. It's it's a event coming up to support the AUSA, that's the Association of the United States Army, the Valor Bridge, and the Warrior Bonfire Project. All of these groups supporting veterans and returning home soldiers, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and we also want to make a quick correction. We said that the Colorado Gives a Damn event was March 5th. It is actually March 6th, so we wanted to make sure we have that right. And so today I'm so pleased to be talking with Izzy Abbas, a U.S. Army veteran from Desert Storm, and also working with Valor Bridge. Izzy, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And we're also talking with Andrea Withrow, president of the Denver Centennial Chapter of AUSA, the Association of the United States Army. Thank you, Andrea, for being here. You both are putting together such great work to help support our veterans. Izzy, tell us a little bit about Valor Bridge.
So Valor Bridge is an organization that came together to actually help with the transition for separating service members, veterans, as they get back into the civilian side. And what it does is it's an intensive program that helps small cohorts of veterans as they basically get into the private sector. They're going into all fields of business, whether that's law, whether that's finance, whether that's operations and logistics. And what we do is we help them understand how to go about that. We give them career building skills, and then we set them up with a one-on-one mentor with an established business professional who can help them on their journey to basically transitioning through that whole process. For a lot of veterans, it's unknown. They've learned how to do one thing.
Right.
And to be able to communicate in the business culture is a little different. And it's an unknown for them. They're not stupid.
Right.
They just haven't been trained with that.
Well, it's definitely a transition because everything's a little more regimented in the military, and we were joking during the break about all the acronyms and different language approach. Not to mention still the difference in ranking, and that I bet is a big adjustment going out into the corporate or business world.
Well, it's a huge adjustment, and understanding the whole culture and how to approach business culture is a big change. An example I love to share, we had a lieutenant colonel, a guy named James, and he was the head of logistics and operations for all of the Colorado National Guard.
Okay.
Came out as a lieutenant colonel. Yeah, 27 years of experience in the military. And one of the things we do is two of us who are board members meet with the veteran and talk about their path going forward. And during the conversation, we had a gentleman who kept saying, "James, you're making it too difficult," because he would ask questions. He said, "Oh, you're making it too difficult. James, you're making it too difficult." James said, "All right, let me stop you right there. I'm going to turn this around. Let's say tomorrow I told you were going to lead 400 troops in a battle. You might ask a lot of questions and make it a lot more difficult than I would see it."
Right.
That's where I'm coming from. And the other gentleman said, that is a damn good point. I understand what you're talking about, and that really kind of clarifies it. So, as veterans are coming back into the private sector, they've got a lot of unknowns, and just understanding how to communicate, how to relate to other business leaders, how does a hierarchy in an organization work? What's a CMO? What's a CFO? What's the difference?
Right.
How's a CEO work? So it's helpful. What we do is we help them understand that. We also help them understand how they can translate their strengths and their experience in civilian skills and make it something that anybody who's interviewing them or working with them can understand. So that's kind of the foundation of what we do at Valor Bridge. We have tremendous community support. A lot of organizations who want to work with young veterans. They come to realize that these veterans make outstanding employees, and they've got
absolutely.
They're adaptable, they're flexible, they can communicate, and that's kind of what we do at Valor Bridge. And we take small cohorts, like 10 to 15 veterans at a time, and we run them through an 8-week curriculum, 2 nights a week, and then we set them up getting mentored by a successful business leader in the community.
And can you give me an example of like a success story in this one?
Sure. Actually, great success story is that gentleman I mentioned earlier,
right,
James.
James, who's making things too difficult?
Yeah, he was making things too difficult. He is now, and I think he's been promoted at least once since he's been there. He then took on a senior logistics role at a corporation here in Colorado. And to hear the gratitude from him is amazing.
Oh, wow.
And he says, you know, you helped me understand this. You helped me understand what my strengths are and what I could offer and how I communicate that to them. That was really important.
That's a big point, I think, is communicating what your strengths, what your experience, what all of that is, because it's kind of like speaking two different languages.
It is totally two different languages. And a lot of it, you know, there's project management, there's personnel management, there's just general leadership skills, which aren't even touched upon when you're considering a veteran in terms of their MOS, which is a military occupational skill.
Okay.
A lot of companies say, oh, we'll take, you know, we're looking for these MOSs. We're looking for these skill sets.
Okay.
The problem is your MOS is a very small amount of what your experience has been in the military. For instance, I was an 11 Bravo. 11 Bravo is an Army infantry guy.
Okay.
Okay. In theory, I should have been either a sheriff's deputy or security guard or police officer, something like that. I've done neither. And I've spent the last 25 years in telecommunications. I've worked with some great companies. And because I was adaptable, because I could communicate, I was a guy who got to go around the world launching TV channels all over the place. I got to work in telecommunications, delivering video to mobile phones. None of that was anything I ever did in the military, but my adaptability, my flexibility, my attention to detail is what helped me succeed in that.
Right, and you can find, and you're helping now these other returning veterans find that their niche, right?
Very much so. And, you know, you look at some of these guys, when they first start out, they kind of look like a deer in the headlights. I mean,
I bet.
You know, you think the military's got a lot of acronyms. Guess what? We in the business world also have a lot of acronyms. And we bring those things up. So, hey, here's what mezzanine level financing is. Here's what, you know, here's what a CEO is, what a CMO actually means.
Right.
That's a big unknown to somebody in the military.
Okay.
Just like if you're civilian, knowing what your AO is a big, what is that?
Tell me.
Area of operation.
Thank you.
But you get that. It's like, oh, I'm working on this. That's my area of operation. So that's one, you know, what we're hoping to do is demystify what the civilian side is and helping them become
businesses
recognize
that.
Yeah, understand that strength. And there's some tips out there that every business can undertake to make their company not just veteran friendly, but veteran supportive. And to support those men and women who are coming back into their organization, and they can help that company be extremely dynamic and tap into new areas that they didn't know about.
Can you share some of those tips with us?
Sure.
Kind of lay some of that out?
Sure. Actually, I mean, if I wanted to set up a company to be veteran supportive, some things I would do, and they don't have to be high-ticket items.
Gotcha.
What they can do is set up things like, you know, for instance, celebrate the birthday of each one of the branches of service.
Okay.
You have a company-wide Christmas party. You bring in a cake and say, hey, today we're going to celebrate the Army's birthday. The group that's the best about this are the Marines. Every Marine out there knows the Marine Corps birthday. It's November 10th, and they all go around wishing everybody happy birthday.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool. But in, you know, the other branches, we know our birthdays, but we're not as celebratory about it.
Right.
But what we can do as companies is, hey, 5 times a year, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, you have a birthday cake come in and say, hey, we're all getting together as a company. We're going to celebrate our birthdays.
Nice.
You can understand, you know, give basic indoctrination, not indoctrination, that's a horrible word, basic introduction to the military, to your HR folks, and to your hiring managers. Hey, this is what some of the ranks mean. Here's what these jobs entail.
Okay.
So that they can understand better the people who are presenting their resumes to the company, and they can understand where they're coming from, what strengths they may bring. So those are two things they can do pretty easily. And with, if we look at introduction to military, groups like AUSA, perfect organization to have somebody from them come in and present that. They're happy to do it because, hey, we're helping you understand what the military does and what these men and women are bringing back. And we're just happy to share the information. We want you to know about these men and women.
And a lot of corporations can incorporate this as part of their diversity and inclusion programs. So a lot of corporations now, most corporations now, have business resource groups or employee resource groups representing the different groups that might be underrepresented. So you have women's groups and LGBT groups and Black professionals groups. At the company that I work with, we have a military network group, and it does a lot of the functions that you're speaking towards. So I would encourage companies that military can be included in your diversity and inclusion programs. It's a good opportunity to bring awareness, to allow people to have an understanding and ask questions they might not feel comfortable asking or might not even know who to ask. You know, I've always wanted to know what it's like to be deployed or what it means to go to boot camp.
Right.
And maybe if you don't know somebody in the military, you don't have anyone to ask, and where would you get that information? But when you start up a business resource group, or you allow that expertise to be available and you make it known that it's important to you to share that diversity and include them in all the activities.
Right.
The military can also be part of that, and folks that are veterans or folks that are serving now, you probably have Guard and reservists within your company that would love to talk about it but don't always feel like they have the forum. But when you bring something like this to bear in the corporate environment, you open that window and it helps build teams, helps build understanding, and you know what, you take what you learn at work out into the big world.
The world with you, right. Yeah, and I like that idea of creating that opportunity to ask those questions, so that your general coworkers understand maybe some of your other coworkers' military experience and some of that background.
And if you look at a lot of the companies that are out there, they have VERGs, or Veteran Employee Resource Groups.
Okay.
And
you have an acronym for everything.
I do indeed.
VERG.
Look at Ball Aerospace. You look at DaVita. You look at companies like the Colorado Symphony. Right. There are members of the Colorado Symphony who are part of the Colorado National Guard band, and
that
they
would make
play.
Sense. Yeah.
But they can support one another, and they can bring information, education to the rest of the company, while at the same time learning more about themselves.
So, we're talking today with Izzy Abbas, a U.S. Army veteran, and with Valor Bridge. And Valor Bridge is working to help, the veterans, anybody with military service, the soldiers coming back, kind of adapt into business leadership, into new careers, right?
Correct.
And part of we're talking about the support for Valor Bridge today because we're Colorado Business Roundtable is one of the sponsors with Colorado Gives a Damn. That's coming up Tuesday, March 6th. It's a great event at the Falls Event Center in Littleton to, kind of expose our business leaders, our business people to military service and that background a little bit more.
Very much so. And it's also a great opportunity because we're going to be bringing a lot of active duty and Guard Reserve members who are actually still serving now. Helps give them an introduction to what they're facing in the business community and talk to business leaders and say, hey, maybe they have a question. They want to know more about how to get into manufacturing or something like that.
Yes.
Great opportunity to do that.
Oh, that would be a wonderful opportunity to see, hey, where did you work? And that's what you're pointing out is what area of service was a military member in, and where does that transition nicely into careers or business
Exactly.
stateside.
And, what I encourage everybody to do is come out to the Colorado Gives a Damn event, because there you get to do it in a fun social environment.
Yes.
You get to learn about this stuff.
You'll learn more than if it were some organized meeting, right?
We've all done the death by PowerPoint. And
yes.
the military is king of death by PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But this is kind of more of an informal setting, and you can rub shoulders with somebody who's serving right now and get to understand them a little bit better. And hopefully those, there's a little hesitancy sometimes, like, well, I don't know if I should ask this. Well, this is going to be a prime opportunity to ask those questions to somebody there in a trusting, safe situation.
Let's talk a little bit more about Valor Bridge and that mentoring, leadership development. How would you like to focus on that? I see there's a little focus on the ideal candidate.
Yeah, well, in this, I'm going to back up a little bit, because if we talk about folks that are coming out, we do know there's a set that wants to go work for the federal government.
Okay.
They can use their retirement. There is a group that wants to do nonprofit and wants to go back to school. What we're trying to do is find those men and women who are mid to higher, or probably mid-level leaders within the military. Within the military, that would be probably E7 to E9, and that means those are ranks. E7 would be a sergeant first class, up to E9, which is sergeant major. We're also looking at 03 to 06, and that's a captain through colonel. Those are the ones who are, they're getting out after, say, 20 years, and now they're going to embark on their second career.
Wow.
They've got a lot of resources and strengths that they can bring to small companies, large companies, and really make an impact. And so what we do is we work with them to understand, and we have classes on everything from how to negotiate to understanding your strengths. We do the DISC profiles and strength finders. We teach a class on how to dress for success. We do that with Brooks Brothers.
Nice.
And each student who comes through the program, they get outfitted with a brand new suit, custom made through Brooks Brothers. Why Brooks Brothers? Because they're the one company that they create men's and women's professional business attire. So that's why we've partnered with them. They provide a huge discount to us, and we give this every student coming through a free suit as they go through that's part of the course. They offer an awesome class down there in their Cherry Creek facility. And I've heard students say, this is, I never knew this stuff. I mean, it's basic things that we all take for granted. They haven't been exposed to it.
Like which?
Well, like in the military, it's real easy.
You've got your uniform, you put it on.
Yeah, you're in the same. You wear the same thing for 20 years.
Yep.
You may dress a little different.
The pins or the patches change, right?
Exactly. And so they've never had an exposure to that, so they don't know what's involved with it. They don't know what's involved with, for instance, communication and the elevator pitch.
Right.
We don't have that in the military. When the elevator pitch is like, what branch are you? Boom. That says everything.
Or your higher up looks you up.
Yeah.
I would imagine, right? It's all there.
It's all there.
Nobody's wondering.
Yeah, nobody's wondering.
Well, you wear your name, rank, and branch on your chest.
You do.
Right.
Literally.
Exactly.
And the nice thing about, the elevator pitch is like, hey, explain yourself in 30 seconds and practice it and do it 3 or 4 times.
Hey, the rest of us out here haven't figured it out either.
Yeah, there you go. But fair, we're helping these men and women understand that.
Understand how it works.
Yeah, and it's
how to make that most opportune presentation.
Yes.
How are you going to translate your military experience in this elevator pitch for the rest of us?
And that's it. It's a trick, and it takes some time and it takes some practice, and that's one of the things that we try to do through Valor Bridge, and help. Basically, there's a lot of unknowns, and these resulted in James's questions, which he was making it too complicated. We're helping to tear down those that barrier so that they can understand it better.
Do you find that other businesses are intimidated by military service or in figuring out what it all means?
Some are, some aren't. It really depends on the company. And I think that we veterans probably don't do ourselves a favor because, we tend to be tough and macho and, it's like, I'll just kill you. I'm like, you don't say that. Don't say that.
I know what I do, but I could take you out in 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. So,
how do you translate that into the business world?
Yeah, you can. That's not but that's not everything in the military. And what we have to do is kind of break down those barriers and make it easier because it is that big unknown. And they're going to have questions. And we want to set up an environment where it's easy for them to ask the questions and learn these things. And
as different as the corporate and the military worlds are, they are very similar.
Sure. There really is.
There are logistics and there are operations. Absolutely. And there are, there's a hierarchy and there's people responsible for tech and communications.
Well, the business culture was set up on military.
Right. And I think, for a lot of corporations, you don't realize that structure is there. Somebody that comes from the military goes, oh, I see. This department is your logistics, and this department does your communications. I can now start to see how I fit into here. And I think that works both ways with groups like Valor Bridge, where there's understanding going both directions. So while they may be helping the military person integrate into the corporate world, there's opportunity for the corporate world to see, pull the curtain off and realize there's so much that their organizations are based on that comes from basic structure that military, does every day.
And one thing that's really important to remember, everybody who's listening, this is your military.
Absolutely.
This is not some subset out there. It's not some other class. This is your military. These are the men and women from your communities. They're the men and women who are going to come back into your businesses. They're the ones who are going to make you successful. And guess what? They're also going to be consumers. Right. So let's, while, there's kind of an unknown out there, let's help tear that down. And I hope that's what we can do through Colorado Gives a Damn Day.
Exactly.
You've got 3 organizations that are really committed to helping with that. And, it's our goal to kind of tear down the unknowns and make it less unknown for all that's involved.
Absolutely. And we want to just tell you about it again. It's this Colorado Gives a Damn on Tuesday, March 6th. It's from 5:30 to 9, so that's a Tuesday, right, at the Falls Event Center in Littleton. And go ahead and look at the Colorado Business Roundtable website. It's COBRT.com. On the events page for March 6th, you'll see it. And there's still room for people to join you, right? Still room, people to join. We're looking for participants. It'd be great if companies brought teams in of like 5-6 people. We'll pair you up with a couple of veterans or people in the active military. Exactly. And go to town creating some great things to eat. And it's $100. It's $100 a ticket, but that money goes to support AUSA. Warrior Bonfire Project and Valor Bridge. And so these groups that are really doing so much great work to support our veterans, our returning soldiers, and active military. Tell us how else we can reach out and support your organizations. We've got, for AUSA, we have a golf tournament coming up in June. Go and link on our Facebook page, the AUSA Denver Centennial Chapter, and we update a lot, and as soon as we have the formal information on the golf tournament, that will be out there. We'd encourage you to come join us on Colorado Gives a Damn Day and have some fun. Yeah, and with Valor Bridge, what we could do is, you can find information about us on the website, but we need companies to serve as mentors. Yes. We need companies to come in and share their expertise, so there's a lot of opportunities for the professional business community here in Colorado to share with these veterans who are transitioning. Find out more there at valorbridge.org. And thank you so much, Izzy Abbas, U.S. Army veteran and working with Valor Bridge. Thank you for the conversation. Absolutely. And thank you, Andrea Withrow, president of Denver Centennial Chapter of AUSA. We really appreciate what you're doing, and thank you both Izzy, for your service, and Andrea for all you do.
Thank you.
Thanks.